All right, let's talk about this die. So first we have this portion here that will cut the straps for your face mask, or you can use elastic. Then there is the outer portion of the mask and the lining. You'll notice that the outer portion is just a little bit longer than the lining portion. The same shapes appear on the studio die. So let me give you a couple of tips. What I've done is I've measured the shape all the way around and just rough cut some rectangles of fabric. So here's the fabric that I want to use for my outer portion of the mask. I'm going to lay my fabric wrong sides together. And then I'm going to do same here for this lining. This is such a great way to bust up your stash and use up your scraps. And then I'm just going to add a piece here so that we can cut the straps, okay? Now today I'm going to use our Go Big electric fabric cutter, but you could also use your Go fabric cutter with this die. Put on the cutting mat. Here we go. All right, when the die gets to the end, we're just going to give it a little love. It's built up static as it's come through the cutter. This will help get rid of the static. Then I'm going to slide my mat, don't lift. And then I'm going to take off my fabric here. Ta-da, ta-da. All right. Okay. And then I'm going to come right here in this strip. All right, so now I'm going to take the pieces off of my die board, and I'm actually going to put my Go Big and my die away for a minute. This way I'll have more room to show you how to sew the mask together. All right, so in order to complete our finished mask, what you're going to do is you're going to take, this is the outer portion that you're going to see. So I made it a prettier color, okay? And then here's the lining, okay? I'm going to just pin both of them, just like this. And then I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch around the edge of both of them. Make sure you use a true 1/4 inch so that the mask works together. All right, here we go. This is such an easy mask to make. You're just going to be amazed at how quickly we're going to sew one together. Okay, so I did that portion. Let's do this. Perfect. Okay. Give it a little snip here. Now, quilters, it's really important that you download the instructions for how to make this mask and then follow those instructions correctly, all right? So here we go. Now, you'll notice the mask has a taller side than a lower side. This is so you know it goes over the nose, okay? Now I'm going to pin my lining to the outer portion of my face mask. You want to make sure you line up the seams. And what I do is I pretend like it's, you know, at a seam on your sewing machine, and I fold the fabric one way and the bottom one go the other direction so that fabric nests. And then I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to pin it all the way around on the top. And then I'm going to pin it all the way around on the bottom. Listen, don't be stingy with those pins, okay? It's really going to help you when you're sewing the face mask together. All right, here we go. Okay, so look how I did the top, and now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom, okay? I'm going to start at that seam, make sure my seams nest. This is such an easy face mask. It's really going to come together so quickly. All right, now I'm going to sew the top portion, stop, and do the bottom portion. We're not going all the way around the mask just yet. All right, here we go. Take your time with the stitching, quilters. Don't rush it. All right, so now I've sewn the top portion of the lining to the mask. Now I'm going to do the same on the bottom. All right, so now that I've sewn the lining to the outer portion of the mask, I'm just going to turn it inside out. Okay, and then it will look like this. Now I want to press my mask, so let me get my little iron. And the reason you want to press your mask, quilters, is because the lining is actually smaller than the outer part of the mask. So just give it a little press right here so it kind of lays flat. So now we're going to fold this little flap of fabric over and pin it. The reason is that way the edge of the mask has a finished edge when we add either the elastic or the ties. And you want to do it on both sides. Okay. Do this end. Do it down here so it lays flat. Okay. And then I'm just going to take that little fabric right there, fold it over, press it down. Okay. All right. And then for sure we want to pin it. Okay. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it this side facing up, and I'm going to top stitch all the way around the mask. All right, quilters, take your time as you do the top stitching. Remember, you want to come over this little flap that we pressed down. That way we don't have a raw edge on our face mask. I have found that it's really helpful to use 2 different colors during your face mask construction, so then you know which is the lining and which is the outer part of the mask. It just makes it easier. All right, almost done here. All right, so now we've top stitched all over the face mask. Now that your face mask has been top stitched, look how pretty that is. You have a couple of different options for the ties or the bands or using elastic, okay? So depending on what your personal preference is, you can make long ties that you can tie on the top and the bottom. You can use 1/4 inch elastic, or you can actually use the strips that are from the ties that are a part of the die. So if you're going to use this strip, let me show you this really easy way to press them. So this is a 1-inch strip, so basically you're just going to press it in half, wrong sides together, and then once you've pressed it, you're going to bring the raw edges to the center. Basically, we're just making tiny little strips. They're going to finish at 1/4 inch. Okay? And then fold it in half. And now look, see, you've made this tiny little strip. So you can use this depending on what you want to use for the outside edge, either ties or elastic. So I'm going to show you a real quick way to use elastic and then how to pull your edge over so that you can finish your face mask. Okay? So I have some elastic here, 1/4 inch elastic. Now, depending on whether this is for an adult or a child, you would want to determine how long of a piece of elastic that you use. I typically use 9 inches. Okay? So if you were using straps that you wanted to tie in the top and the bottom, those would be, I would probably do width of fabric, right? 42 inches. And then there's plenty of room. Okay? So what you want to do is just take your elastic, and I'm just going to pin it so that as I sew it together, I just sew this little piece together, and then it will fit right here in my mask. So just give me a second here. All right, we're ready to sew. Make sure I get that elastic underneath my needle here. And I do have a tendency to go and backstitch a little bit so that that elastic doesn't break. Okay. All right. Okay. And now that I've sewn the elastic, let me get rid of my strings here. I'm just going to lay that piece where the seam is right here in the middle of my edge. And then you could either fold it over and stitch it down, which is what I'm going to do, or you could have actually folded this over, stitched it down, and created like a canal, so you could put elastic through there or your ties through there, whichever is easiest for you. Okay, so I'm just going to go right here, bring my pins. Who knew we had to use so many pins? Okay, so then see I have the little edge here. All right. And the thing about elastic, remember when you're stitching on it, it pulls. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then as I stitch down that flap, what it's doing is actually stitching the elastic down as well. Okay? And now it's going to look just like this. Just once you've done one side, you would do the same to the other side, and then you would have a finished do-it-yourself face mask. I'm Pam from AccuQuilt, reminding you that at AccuQuilt we help you cut time so you can quilt more.